Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're all having an awesome day, or as good as you possibly can, wherever you are and whatever time it is. I've got a bit of Savlon up my nose because I've developed a sore, I think, from all the DIY. That's why I haven't done any videos. I have been extremely busy. I've got a few video clips at the end, but that's generally not really what this video is about. It's a subject I've wanted to talk about before, quite a few times, but it's a difficult one. People call it mental health these days, or mental illness. In my day, they called it depression, and I do sympathise greatly. I've had my own bouts of depression in the past, and agoraphobia. I had agoraphobia 2 times. Now, it wasn't like, I don't know, other people, maybe they suffer with this all of their lives. The first time I had it was from when I was 15 to 17, but that was because of a violent ex-boyfriend, and I was just too scared to go outside of the house. And then I got into the habit of being afraid of everybody outside the house. And the second time, again, oddly enough, it was to do with a boyfriend. He wasn't violent, but he told me that everybody was looking at me. And actually, as it turned out, he wasn't very well. And you know, I told you the story about my nephew the other week. Well, I thought I'd tell a few stories because I'm not in any way, shape or form qualified to assess someone for mental health, or I don't know anything about it other than, you know, my own experience of what I've seen of people. Now, back in the 90s, I used to live in a 1-bedroom basement flat on my own. And because I had agoraphobia, but I needed to go to the shops. I mean, I had to, otherwise, you know, I would have starved. I used to go to the petrol station at night, and I'd wait until it was like the dead of night because I didn't want anybody looking at me. That was the big thing. It's really weird now because I'm on YouTube and obviously I don't care now. So it goes to show that a mental state of mind can really change a person's life. Anyway, I didn't know anything about this thing they called it care in the community. And basically what it was that a lot of people used to be in mental facilities. And then at a certain point, the government, and I do agree with this to a large extent, they said, look, a lot of these people, they're not dangerous to themselves or anyone else. It's costing a lot of money keeping them locked up. I mean, really, it was really bad back in the day. And so they called it care in the community because they wanted them to be with society, and for society to like go, okay, I understand, and to be kind. And of course, we all see it. We've all got our own little foibles. And people are kind. Lots of people are kind, generally speaking, in the public. But what they also did, in my ignorant opinion, is they released some people that were really quite dangerous, or at the very least needed supervising. So I went to the petrol station one night, and this huge guy, huge bald guy, approached me, dead friendly, and I just thought, oh, don't get eye contact. Not because I was scared of him, I just didn't want to talk to anybody, didn't want anybody looking at me, you know, my own issues. And he said, what are you doing out this late at night? I said, oh, I'm going to the petrol station, I've got to get some food for my kittens. So I had 2 kittens then. And he said, oh, I'll come. No, that's right, my cat. I had a cat. He said, I'll come with you. I've got some kittens. I'm going to the petrol station to buy food for my kittens. And I just thought, oh, God. I mean, what can you say? So I just went, oh, okay, that's great. So there he is talking to me. And the things he was saying all the way to the petrol station were really crazy. And I got all the bits and pieces I wanted. And then, oh, to my horror, he said, I'm going to walk you back to your flat. And on the way back, I mean, I couldn't stop him. On the way back, he went, do you want to come to my flat and see my kittens? And I just thought, oh my God, no, I don't. There's not a soul around, and I'm really regretting going out on my own at night. And luckily, my boyfriend was at home. And this guy followed me all the way back to the flat. And as I was going down the stairs to the front door, he said, I'm coming in your flat. And I went, no, you're not. No, you're not. Go away. You know, and this is the point I started freaking out. And I couldn't find my key. And I said, my boyfriend's in there. And he went, you haven't got a boyfriend. You're lying. I'm coming in. And I was like, oh, my God. Oh, my God. Anyway, I rang the doorbell. And Thomas, my boyfriend at the time, he came to the door, and just as this guy was like really getting aggressive, and he went, "What the hell's going on?" And then this guy went, "Oh, there is," and he ran away. I mean, he was much bigger than my boyfriend, but luckily he ran away. And I was like, oh my God, well, that was probably just a one-off, unlucky. But no, lots of these occasions started to happen. So I did start to pay attention on the news at the time. I'm talking early 90s, this was going on. And they're going on about this care in the community. Now, the town I'm from, Brighton and Hove, is, it's a really accepting city. I mean, really, aliens could land in Brighton and no one would take a blind bit of notice, trust me. We've seen it all. There used to be a guy, totally harmless, who sprayed himself from head to toe in silver. And he had an old record player, which he'd also sprayed silver, and he used to hang out outside the Co-op on Blatchington Road. And he was telling everybody about the future, warning everybody about what was going to happen in the year 2000. And that was extremely imaginative. I mean, I don't know what his condition was, but... and then there was a cafe across the road and he used to go there. And again, my boyfriend Thomas was really intrigued and had a conversation with him about, you know, what's going to happen? What do you think is going to happen in the future? And he was completely harmless and loads of people loved him. And I think he might have had a little hat where people could give him change and stuff. And there was another guy in the same cafe who was a very smart gentleman with a moustache and a tweed jacket and a bow tie. And the restaurant owners, bless them, they were so good about it. He would go to lunch every day with his imaginary friend, Humphrey. And we all used to go in this cafe as well. And I mean, we were much younger, so we'd laugh. We found it amusing. But I mean, looking back on it, this guy was really convinced that he had this friend Humphrey who he would yell at throughout the dinner, telling Humphrey, "That's not how you hold your knife and fork. Humphrey, where are your manners?" And he'd say it like dead loud. Every time he shouted at Humphrey, everyone in the restaurant would go quiet, including Silverman from the future. And we'd all look over and go, "What's Humphrey done now?" And the restaurant, bless them, they'd play along with this. And sometimes the maitre d' kind of guy, he would tell Humphrey off and say, "Humphrey, stop upsetting your friend, behave yourself." You know, and the guy loved that. And they'd lay a place for Humphrey and they'd put a plate of food there for Humphrey, which of course was taken away uneaten. And Humphrey would be chastised. Again, what a waste! Humphrey, Humphrey! And I guess the guy paid for the 2 dinners and he was in there every day, religiously. Anyone from that era, from that, will remember that cafe on Blatchington Road, and they'll probably remember. I mean, you never know, someone might see this video and tell me the backstory of what it was with this guy. Because I think people go through a trauma and they don't know how to cope with it in certain circumstances, and maybe they build a reality that for them is more acceptable. I mean, I don't like to talk about Meghan and Harry in this video because it's not about that, but it would seem to me that Meghan particularly, and I'm just guessing, you know, I'm just ruthlessly diagnosing Meghan. Right? So just, as I often say, don't take my word for it, but she seems to create a new reality for herself that she finds more acceptable. And I've noticed that some people who have, I really hate the term mental health, actually. I really hate it. It just sounds so, I don't know, I just don't like it. I prefer to call it state of mind, or I don't know, just anything but mental health. Oh, mental health, oh, mental health. You know, I've heard it's been overused so much. There seem to be a lot, and then some people think, oh, well, they're lying. Like, so, you know, recently we've had some people who are not thinking straight earlier in the year in our lives. And they change the history of the way something happened to a more acceptable version. And then they lose track of reality because that is not the way it happened. And it can be catatonic for them to be presented with hard facts, or like a video of what they actually said and what they actually did, because in their mind they've changed it so dramatically beyond recognition. And I mean, then you get far, far more serious conditions like schizophrenia. Now, I don't know a lot about schizophrenia, but I have known schizophrenic people. And I have wondered in the past, I've known people who hear voices, literally, you know, I've said to them, do you actually hear voices? And they say, yes, I can actually hear the voice. So I've often wondered, and I mean, this is again, I've got to be really careful here. I don't want anyone out there who's on medication thinking, oh yeah, Fiona's right, I'll stop taking my meds. You know, don't, I'm not a psychiatrist, right? Can't emphasise that enough. But I have wondered that maybe people who can hear voices are actually tuning it, they can hear another frequency that we can't. You know, who's to say that those voices are real or not real? They're clearly very, very real to the individual that can hear them. And that must be horrible, awful. So, you know, can you imagine it? That's awful. Schizophrenia, of course, is quite an extreme condition, and I have no idea what trips it off or why some people have that. As I said, it's just a theory of mine that I've wondered on and off over the years, because I've known people with the condition, and I've spoken to at least one person in depth, you know, along those lines. Do you think that that's a possibility? But then I've got to be careful, because the doctors say no, you know, no, that is not. It's a condition, and I'm only encouraging people. I just thought, for what it's worth, I'd mention that. But my main point about this video is the care in the community. Yes, I agree with that. I don't think people should be locked up if they're no danger to themselves or anyone else. The problem is now, I mean, years ago, before the internet, we would maybe not come into contact with people with mental illness, and but these days now the internet is there, you know, and everybody's on it, literally everybody. And then I see this lady that's in court, and the things that she has said and done, they are spiteful. I don't believe she has mental, well, I don't believe she's mental, you know, I don't believe she's crazy, but she's clearly got some, cheese has slid off her cracker. And I see other people, not connected to me, who've been, they've been done for trolling, and they've been done for threats on the internet and stuff like that. I mean, that Holly Willoughby guy. And they themselves don't, when they're arrested, they don't seem to think it's very serious. They think it's normal until obviously they realise how much shit they're in, and then, you know, talk about a massive learning curve. More like a learning spiral staircase. Oh yeah, I'm going to make a spiral staircase. I'll tell you all about that. These are my steps that I made yesterday. I mean, the horrors for them. So we, the public, are not equipped or qualified to deal with these people. How can we care for them in the community? And actually, why should we? When they're extreme, when they're dangerous, when they're not just dangerous, when they affect other people's lives, when they do and say stuff that affects other people's lives. Heightened states of paranoia, maybe they smoke a little too much weed. Some people, you know, some people can't handle their grass, and most people can, but some can't, you know, and they're it's, I can't see an end to it. And then I see people like Harry and Meghan. I mean, talk about the blind leading the blind. If ever there was a case of mental illness, it's those two. I mean, they are walking, talking adverts, aren't they? And, you know, they're actually quite dangerous, because they're making announcements and speeches. Honest to goodness, I haven't looked them up over the last, not since Thursday, I think, because I've been so busy with the boat. But I heard something, Harry went to Florida. What was that, about the hurricane or something? You know, shut the fuck up, Windsor. Go and get in the 12-step programme, mate. Get in it, remove yourself. As for Meghan, I mean, that's she has legal rights, you know, as a person. You can't just lock someone up. It's down to her to seek help, but she's never going to do so. It's going to end in disaster, isn't it? As it does for a lot of people. And also, what invariably happens is the prison system gets overloaded with people who have serious mental conditions, and they shouldn't be in prison. Not just for their own benefit, but for the general prison population. They're offenders that are in there. They are not qualified any more than we are. and someone comes into prison, which is a, you know, heightened stressful situation, and then they're confronted with, oh, you know, why is that person doing that? I mean, sometimes it's overtly obvious that something's wrong, but other times it can be a much more subtle mental issue where people think, oh, they're just being dead bloody rude, or are they really stupid, or, you know, it's really hard. When Graham and I returned to the UK after having been on all around Europe years ago, we found so many people that we knew in the UK on antidepressants. It was like the doctors were handing them out like sweets. And we were horrified. I mean, there were people that I would never ever have imagined even had depression or suffered from it. We're like, oh yeah, I'm on it. Oh yeah, and my neighbour and their kids. And oh yeah, everybody's on it. Aren't you on it? You know, and people looked at me and Graham like we were weird. You know, we're not on it. And I said, I just don't think you should, you know, unless you can possibly avoid it. Yes, those prescriptions are essential for people who really need it. But I mean, it appeared to me, the doctors were like, woof, 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 everybody, come on, they're like Smarties, don't eat the blue ones. I mean, what the hell's going on? Was that some sort of way of controlling the population? And robbing people of their common sense? I don't know, massive subject. Can't wait to hear your guys' comments. I think it's just that while I've been doing DIY, I've been thinking about things, and obviously people are being arrested. I'm not going to say anything or elaborate on anything. You guys are going to find out in the future what's going on, and I'll probably use a snippet of this video in the future when we're able to tell you stuff, and I'll just put a clip up and go, remember that video? That's what that was all about. Because a lot of you are probably scratching your head thinking, why is she going on about mental illness? Because I mean, at first, when someone is arrested who's done you wrong, you know, it's like why, then anger, hatred, and then there comes a point where you sit back and you're looking at them sitting there sobbing in floods of tears, you know, like a grown man, and you think, why did you do this? Why did you think that was acceptable? Is that a form of, do you suffer from some sort of form of mental illness? I mean, another time, right, I went out to the petrol station, because I mean, I just couldn't get over this agoraphobia thing. My flat was on a main road, and the double-decker buses would stop at the traffic lights right outside my flat. And my boyfriend had said, everyone on that bus is looking at you. Everyone on that. Now, as it turned out, years and years later, when I was with Graham, we discovered that he actually had some sort of schizophrenia. It wasn't that serious, so, you know, and it became more and more and more apparent. You know, in the early days, it was just like, why is he doing that? Is he dead rude or something? I didn't realise that he had problems when I was with him, and he put his problems on me and convinced me that everybody outside of the flat was looking at me, and they all hated me, and they were all judging me, and I was like, oh God, really? So I went out again late at night. I'd split up with him, and I used to stop. I'd go up the steps and I'd look up and down the road to just look and see what other pedestrians were on the road and how far away, oops, that's the bell Steph gave us, and how far away they were and how fast they were walking. And I'd time it so that I would be alone and I could make my little route to the petrol station and get my milk and fags and whatnot, cat food, maybe a loaf of bread and some one of those frozen dinners, and then, you know, scurry back to the flat. Anyway, I saw this guy, but he was really far down the road. And he was on the other side of the road, so I thought, oh, and he's walking at a normal pace, so I set off, going in the same direction of him, but obviously way ahead of him. And pretty quickly after, I could hear footsteps, and I thought, shit, someone's coming up behind me, and this pace was quickening and quickening and quickening. And I had some kickboxing lessons, only a few, but I mean, I went to had private lessons with this guy who was lovely, you know, and I said to him, I've got this problem, this is like a big thing for me to even come to see you face to face. And I explained, I go out at night and I've had quite a few of these episodes, and I just want to know what is the best thing. And he said, one of the best things you can do is drop to the ground. But he said, you know, whatever you must do is do not show fear, like frighten them back, scare them back. Anyway, I could hear these footsteps coming up behind me, and I was so paranoid, and I'm walking faster and faster, and they got like within breathing down my neck distance. And I thought, right, you got to fight, Fiona. You've got to fight. You're never going to outrun them. So I turned around and went, "What do you want?" You know, I'm really, and what the fuck? And this guy had his hands out. He was about to grab me. And as I screamed at him, he went, "Oh, sorry, sorry, sorry. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it." And he went away. And I thought, oh, firstly, my God, that worked. Holy shit. And secondly, I thought, bloody hell. I never carried a knife or a weapon or anything like that. I would never do that. But I just thought, whoa, that was worse than the guy with the kittens. And I had quite a few of these episodes. And I think I've told this story before. Wind back a couple of years before that, my boyfriend Thomas, as I say, I lived in this basement flat, and the bedroom the window was to the main road, and it was the summer, and it was quite warm in Brighton, Hove actually, and he used to insist on sleeping with the bloody window open. Well, it's a basement flat. And he also used to like changing the furniture all the time. I mean, I'd go out, come home, and he had literally, it used to drive me mad actually. And he'd go, "No, let's just try it for a change. Or a change is as good as a rest," you know. How I could not have seen, well, I don't know. I was 22, 23 years old. I just couldn't see it, that he had problems, issues himself. My family could. My dad especially went, "You've got to get rid of him. Can't you see? He's going to ruin your life if you let him." It was Graham who got rid of him in the end, actually. Graham sat him down and he said, "We've had enough." He said, you mess up one more time, mate, and I'm going to tell you to fuck off." And this guy, Thomas, he really looked up to Graham. He really respected Graham. You know, he sat there. He went, "I promise I won't fuck up again. I promise I won't fuck up again. I'll be on my best behaviour." Well, of course, he fucked up. And Graham went, "That's it." Anyway, so there we are. This would have been out 92, 93. And I had two single beds, and he put my bed, so my head was just under the open window. And I thought, oh, I don't know about this. This was before I'd got agoraphobic. Anyway, I had a terrible nightmare that there was a man next to my bed with a bald head and an angry face. He was huge, and he had a blue and white striped t-shirt. And again, he was like that. Anyway, I sat up in bed and I screamed, opened my eyes, and you know when you're like really half asleep, and of course Thomas, he sat up in his bed, which was he'd put the other side of the room, and he went, what? And I said, oh, nothing. I just had like a really, really horrible nightmare. It's fine, go back to sleep. And I couldn't see anybody there, so I went back to sleep. And the next morning, Thomas said to me, what woke you up? What did you have a nightmare about? And I said, I don't really want to say. And he said, "Can I tell you something?" He said, "When you screamed, I thought I saw someone kneeling down by your bed, and they ducked out. They went right down on the ground." And I said, "Well, what did they look like?" And he said, bald, quite a big guy, and he had a blue and white stripy. And I said, "Oh my God, that's what I dreamt." So we deduced that an actual person had climbed through the window. And because it was a single bed and they'd seen I was a female, they probably assumed I was alone. They hadn't realised he was in a single bed in the other. Oh my God. I said to him, "We are never sleeping with that bloody window open ever again. Ever." And there were, other incidents. When Graham and I were in London recently, we went to somewhere near Victoria Station, a big shopping centre. And there was a guy walking down the street. I mean, there were quite a few, actually. There was one guy who was on the other side of the road who was hiding behind pillars that were too narrow for his body, so you could see the outer shape of him with just the pillar in the middle. But he was convinced he was hidden. And he was tracking us and like walking sideways, shuffling to the next pillar and hiding. And Graham went, "Don't look now." He said, Graham can't cope with this sort. He really can't. So there was that guy, and I said, "It's fine, Graham, I'm used to it. We've had a lot of this in Brighton." To me, in my uneducated assessment, he's on the other side of the road. It's fine. Graham said, "We are not crossing the road at this moment." Then another guy came up behind us who was shouting and shouting and shouting, and he was saying something like, "It's all a conspiracy. They're all in on it. They're all in." And he was really shouting. And he was like, why can't you people see it? Why can't you people see it? And Graham was like, my God, don't look at him, don't get eye contact. And I said, don't be silly. And I looked at him and he shouted at me and he went, it's all a conspiracy. And I said, yes, you're absolutely right. And he went, thank you. Oh, I knew it. And off he toddled. And Graham was like, my God, please don't engage again like that. But I mean, that is Brighton, honestly. We had a guy on a roundabout who used to, with a monocle, stay there all day long, tipping his boat at all the traffic. We had another one outside Lewes Prison. And all the cars going by all day long, he'd be like this. Well, I was a kid. It was on the school run. It was when we used to live in Lewes, and we, as kids, we just thought it was hilarious. And we'd do it back to him, and that'd make him like super angry. I shouldn't laugh. No, of course not. But it is a big ask, generally speaking, for society. I do go along with the be kind, you know, try not to be afraid of people who might not be acting completely right. But I mean, then it would seem to me that a lot of them have transferred onto the internet and they're just there saying all manner of insane stuff that, I mean, a 5-year-old child would say, that is not logical. What's wrong with you? How do you fix that, eh? How do you get people to realise, thank God there aren't that many. The majority of people on the internet, I think, are awesome and come out with all sorts of wonderful things. I mean, one of my favourite things is watching people who've designed something or they're building something or they're overcoming a problem. I just love that sort of thing. I mean, since Thursday, I have fixed part of the roof. I've painted the aft deck. I'll show you everything. The new windows arrived today. No, the fiberglass mat has not arrived. And I've made 6 of these, right? Oh, I've got 3 of them here. These are the steps for the new spiral staircase that's going to go up to the roof outside. I mean, what have these trolls done? What have they achieved? Well, I know what one of them's achieved, and it's a bit of an own goal, but we won't talk about that just yet. It just seems so tragic and sad to me. And I mean, that woman in court, I mean, what's she achieved in her life? Well, again, bit of an own goal, isn't it? It's to be pitied, really, isn't it? But it's mind-bending to those of us on the receiving end of it. And I know that some of you are on the receiving end of it. Some of you particularly are being singled out by people who are not of a healthy mind, shall we put it to that way. Anyway, I'll show you all the progress on the boat. Thank you for listening to my boring, you know, ramble. Meghan and Harry, I'm waiting for the divorce announcement. I'm not really one of these YouTubers, and I love the YouTubers who do it. I love them. I watch all of them. The ones that analyse literally everything that's going on. I'm fascinated by that. I'm more of, you know, I just get it over and done with, guys. And no, Harry shouldn't be, like loads of you say, they deserve to be stuck with each other forever. But me, for my mental health and a lot of yours, I see the members of the royal family as an example for society. And it would appear that someone abnormal married into the family, which to me makes the royals, the real royals, ever so more relatable. You know, it makes me love them ever more because I'm thinking, we're all in the same boat together, guys. I see that stuff about Charles and Camilla, the king and queen, pardon me, going to Australia, and that political leaders have snubbed them. Well, those political leaders are stupid because they're not snubbing the royal family. They're snubbing the good people of Australia. The king and queen have come to give recognition and to big up Australia. So those elected officials, if it is true that they're dissing them and not going, well, you're just shitting over the electorate that put you there in the first place, grow the fuck up and go and see the king and queen, who, by the way, he's not very well and he's made a massive effort to come and visit. So, as I say, grow the fuck up. As for Meghan saying she's the most bullied person on planet Earth, oh my God, well, I suppose that's what got me starting about thinking about people who are not thinking straight. Anyway, I'll leave it there and show you the, let's hope the spiral staircase goes all right. Thank you very much for listening. Now, has the resin arrived yet? And the mat? No. So I'm on with other jobs, and I wanted to show you guys this. These dodgy pieces of wood. These are actually pallet wood, where we did this pelmet a few years ago, and my plan was always each of these planks is screwed up, and then I take them down one at a time and clean them up, and I'm going to do that today. And I wanted to show you this so you can see this corner here requires quite a bit of attention. You can actually see the wooden spars underneath. This one, we've actually extended the roof a bit there, but the next one has gone a little. And this, oh, I can't reach it. This plywood here, that's my new roof that I fitted last year, and then obviously there's fiberglass over the top, and you can see that is still a good colour because it's not only marine ply, it's really bloody thick as well. You can see how thick. I use the same stuff on the edge. I rollered it in fiberglass, just the resin on its own to seal it, edges, top, back, bottom, so it's actually still the same colour as it was brand new. But this bit here, that's the old roof, which is nowhere near as thick. It was completely gone on this corner and completely gone all down this side. That's why Graham was wary about standing on it. But I mean, trust me, this is going nowhere at all. So I'm taking these planks down, and we're going to fix this corner. Oh, I don't even know if that's filming that because it's a bit of an awkward angle. So that's the plan today. Set sail, so we've got a good view of the boat from this pontoon, and you can see these windows, the lower windows. You can see the front top ones I've done. I will do the top two, well, the 4-2 in the wheelhouse. I'll do them very similar. These 3 windows have been the bane of my life since we bought the boat. The middle slider, that you're going to see some pretty dramatic change in the coming week, hopefully, because the new windows arrived today, but of course I need the fiberglass to rebuild that side of the boat. Graham's put a bit of plastic over the wood to try and stop the rain from coming in, which sort of works, but not really. And that very, very big window at the front, both of them leak, as do the smaller 3 at the very, very front. Oh my goodness. And you can see the top roof where the fiberglass comes over the edge, and that's all nice and flat. I actually did a really good job on that. I'm really pleased. And I've been looking for a piece of wood, strips of wood that are about 4 inches deep and 3.5 meters long, and I just can't get them here in Spain. So I think what I'm going to do is use plywood, marine ply, and I've got some quite artistic things that are going to happen because I'm going to make a spiral staircase in the near future. Right, now I've got to get off this pontoon, which is very narrow, without falling in whilst filming. And I'll show you some of the stuff I did yesterday. I've reconfigured it now, so we go up the steps up the back. I've fixed this corner of the overhang at the back. I've got another little video all about that, but where the ladder is at the moment going up to the top roof, I am going to build a spiral staircase. Oh, and I painted the aft yesterday, and all this down the side of the boat. The reason that this paint has blistered but not in other parts is because this boat's gigantic. When we had her out of the water and we were painting her, we were again doing it in October where the rain comes, and the rain kept coming. And that's why that paint, those were the areas, this bit at the back and the middle bit, we just had to get it done because every day in the boatyard costs money. Whereas all the other bits that we did that was pure sunshine, that's perfectly fine. So obviously I've got to fix that as well. But we're winning, we are winning. And my piece of resin here that I did, all this along here, the bathroom is underneath that, and that's been bone dry. Not a drop of water has come into the bathroom or the shower at all. And equally the 3 windows at the front that I did, you know, the awesome 3, those ones, not a drop of water came through. Obviously, well, this one actually hasn't leaked, oddly enough, but that one has. That's all going to change soon. It's going to be phenomenal. And the bit that's really pushing me on now is the thought of getting the railings done. Look at the dinghy. I've got to bail that out today because of all the rain we've had. Oh, bloody hell. Hello, fish. I love the fish. The fish keep me going as well. They all come to say hello. I think it's because I feed them.